meeting of the Menifee City Council to order. Let the record reflect that all council members are present, and it appears that we don't have any speakers. Do we have any speakers, Madam Clerk? Very well, we're recessed into closed session per the agenda item. Good evening, everybody. We are reconvening from the special meeting. Do we have a report out of closed session? Mr. Melching?
Yes, Mayor, briefly. The City Council in closed session took up the performance evaluation of the city manager and is continuing in that process. But as that process continues, the City Council has directed that the city perform an organizational climate assessment. And that is all there is to report for now.
Thank you very much. We are then adjourned from the special meeting, and I call to order the regular meeting of the Menifee City Council. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Denver? Here. Councilmember Leesmeyer?
Here.
Councilmember Sobek?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem August? And Mayor Mann?
Here. And we have words of inspiration tonight from Pastor Steve Lennertz, Eagle Ridge Church. Steve.
Let's pray. Dear God, we ask for your presence to be here tonight. Father, direct and guide our city leaders. Guide and direct policy that's made for our city. Give to all those to whom you've entrusted leadership a desire to seek your will. And God, I pray that you'd bless our city, its leadership, its residents. And we ask tonight for provision and protection upon our city. We ask this blessing to be upon our first responders, those who keep us safe. And Lord, bless and protect our servicemen and women and their families as they sacrifice, that we may be recipients of the freedom we dare not take for granted. And I pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Council Member Sobek, would you lead us in the flag salute?
Can you join me?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have no presentations this evening. Madam Clerk, are there any modifications to the agenda?
There are no modifications.
The agenda is approved as presented. Public comment period. This is the time for members of the public to address the council about items which are not on the agenda. The Ralph M. Brown Act limits the council's ability to respond to comments on non-agendized matters at the time such comments are made. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes on any single item. Please submit a speaker card to the city clerk if you have not already done so. Please call the first speaker.
Lena Bausch, followed by Carl Scherstrom.
Hello, my name is Lena Bausch. I was here 2 weeks ago and I wanted to talk about the taxes, make some comments on that. Since it went too long, I really couldn't. So first off, I just wanted to ask a rhetorical question, something that I think we kind of forget about. So why do cities essentially form? They essentially form to provide us essential services such as public safety, water, sanitation, and public safety was obviously fire and police. Now everything else is just nice to have, like parks and libraries. So when budgets happen, cuts, and we need to figure out how to do that, we cut down those two things, which is the parks and the libraries. Which brings me to my first point. Regarding Valleywide, has the city thoroughly evaluated the cost and assumed these added parks and can demonstrate a cost saving to its residents? Otherwise, what is the benefit for us to take over? If you have, can you show us figures? Valleywide District was formed to take care of these parks. We need to keep it as its own entity. By taking these parks now, we would have to hire people to take care of these parks, which means more money spent on personnel and pensions. Why? This is part of the nice to haves, not what we need right now. We need our money to be spent wisely on things we need to run our city safely. I would rather invest in pensions for public safety than park personnel. Now, when it comes to our taxes, Contracting public safety is expensive. We can either continue to go this route or invest in our own departments and have local control. With these sales taxes, are you asking for us to create our own fire and police department? Or are you still going to contract these services and just tax us more money? If so, how many more officers will you guarantee us? 1, 2, 3? More officers we need. As a local resident, I can tell you that will not suffice. We need real presence in our city. What is your real objective with raising taxes? What is your action plan with public safety? Is your end goal to continue to contract these services or take control of our future and build our own departments? If we don't have local control, our county will increase at any moment, as they already have, and we would be at their mercy and have no control of our future. Instead of taxing our citizens more, have you explored other opportunities, such as joint powers agreements with cities? With that, we would gain strength in numbers, and we would still have local control. These sales tax supposed to be for fire, police, and other services. What are other services? Can you explain? What else will you be spending our money on? And please, I don't want to hear, these are great points, and you bring up good point of views and good questions. I want real answers with details. Please answer these questions and summarize these answers in a report if you can't answer me today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Carl Scherstrom, followed by Daniel Kuttner.
Hi, my name's Carl Scherstrom. I live in the estates of Menifee down here, and I'm kind of going along with the same thing she was talking. Oh, I got the wrong picture. I'm sorry. I'm new at this. So I've traveled around Menifee, and I've lived here 25 years, and the city's been here, 8 years, and I've seen it, the city's slowly deteriorating. So I have some pictures. Some people may have seen this. Kind of gone around. You can see our lakes, our signs, our walls. Here's some better pictures. This was the first day of school for the Kelly Kirkpatrick kids here, and you'll notice our dead school. That's kind of embarrassing. Versus Temecula's school, and you can see how nicely landscaped it is, and that is like a desert landscape that doesn't have to be watered. Let's see. We're trying to raise tax money, but who wants to come play golf at the Temecula Country Club when it looks like this? There's our sign off the freeway. This is our entrance to the country club, and then this would be Red Hawks. In Temecula. You can see their nice waterfalls. And where do you want to play golf? Where do you want to spend your money? And it's not just Temecula. Here's our off-ramp at Scott Road. I'm sure you've all come off of there. It takes a half hour to get off. And I'm sure you've had time to inspect that. And then Moreno Valley's on the bottom. I mean, they're not really high tax dollars there, but you can see how much nicer Moreno Valley's off-ramps are. So that's basically what I've got. I have a whole lot more to say. I know I went to the HOA meeting last night and had a whole lot of upset people with our government here. So thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Daniel Kuttner, followed by Katie Manier.
Gosh, I'm going to feel kind of tame after those two, but although I agree with them in principle. First, I want to start with something nice. I want to thank Mr. August for his cooperation with me and helping me with a couple of problems that we've had in a couple of years. I've lived here for almost 7 years. I don't know if you recognize my name, but you've been pretty prompt in emailing me back. And my major problem has been people dumping their stuff on the site. Now he knows who I am. It's amazing what people dump, and if I hear something at night, sometimes I go and see if I can catch someone, but I haven't. But somebody has put some little teeny tiny signs, but they put them where there wasn't any dumping. So, but anyway, you've been real responsive, and I appreciate that. I know you're very busy. Commenting a little bit briefly on what went before, I've always wondered, I mean, I used to live in San Diego, for instance, and the millions of dollars of tax money that go into golf courses. I mean, to me, if you can afford golf clubs, what's another couple bucks for a membership? Why do the taxpayers have to pay for a golf course in every city I've ever lived? Rhetorical question, but I just wonder about that. As the First Lady said, that to me, that, police and that kind of thing, fire, that's got to be the higher priority. What I really have a question about, and again, I don't know if you guys can answer it today, but we've been getting all these lectures and warnings and stuff about water use that we get in the mail. And actually, they eased up a little bit. I'm very low on water. I've got gravel in my yard and all that stuff. But still, they keep threatening to raise the rates and all this stuff. And then I wonder, when I drive around, these hundreds of homes that are being built and another shopping center, and I see on the map 2 Walmarts. I don't know if that's a either or what the story is there. That's going to use a ton of water. What have you or the city staff done to ensure that we get to maintain our present water use, at least, with all this other demand coming in here? No one. I mean, I know you don't have to answer now, but I thought maybe you guys. Yeah, that's Plan 7.
We're precluded from answering, and.
Oh, you can't answer?
No.
Okay. I thought you just didn't have to.
We have limited response under the Brown Act during public comment.
Okay, so this will go in the minutes.
I'm sure, I think Ms. Gonzalez is standing out there in the foyer. She would be happy to share some thoughts about how EMWD's water policies and things of that nature.
Okay, is any of that going to be in the minutes or something, someplace I can look at them?
No?
Okay, so I came to the wrong place?
No, well, EMWD controls the water, not the city of Menifee.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys okay the development, right?
That's true.
And so.
And so does EMWD.
Does water go into that equation, like,
It does.
we're tight on water, we can't add another 400
I'm going to call on the city manager to provide a brief response.
Okay, wonderful, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The EMWD provides will-serve letters before anything is constructed and finalized. So it can't be built without a will-serve water letter from EMWD. So we rely on them.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Katie Manier, followed by Michael Fornerato.
Well, I have to say that's really interesting when I'm here with the topic. Scott, at the June 15th meeting, you told Ms. Sobeck to follow decorum when she was going to ask a question of a speaker, a simple question, wanted a little clarification. You stated public comments are not for debate, and yet every time I speak, you have ugly, rude comments and debate back to me. Your job on that city council is to be the spokesperson to run the meeting is all. You have no more power than anybody else that sits in those seats, and yet you exert all this power. You stated the city has records of sludge being dumped, and yet I have asked many times. I have demanded and I have asked. Those records are not available. Are you using a map that's only 40% complete? Yes, you are. Do you have a degree in biochemistry or a medical degree? You cannot sit there and say it is safe without that. People need to do the research. They need to know the truth about what's being done down here. I have presented letters from the sick and letters from a well-renowned biochemist stating otherwise. Again, a lie to the people. The lies continue. Greg and John, I'm going to ask, is 20,000 plus acres a small amount of land to have raw sewage and crap dumped on? I think not. You guys are both in real estate, and yet you refuse to get the records and to be honest with the public. I think you owe it to the people to tell the truth, and you know the truth. Wally went to his grave knowing the truth and wouldn't admit it and talk about it. And you guys maybe will have that same.
Next speaker, please.
Michael Fornerato, followed by Randon Lane.
Hi, my name is Michael Fornerato. I have a piece of property in Quail Valley on Conejo Drive, and it's been 12 years since this moratorium's been on, and I have statements from this moratorium that I'm able to have a septic system. I'm in Zone 8, which is and I have over an acre of property, which it says I can have a septic system, but I keep getting knocked down. And now I have a proposal here for, this is Audie Murphy Ranch, the new project that's going in. It's only 200 feet 200 to 300 feet from Caneo Drive. So what does it take the city of Menifee to run a sewer line from this project into Caneo Drive and have a sewer system in Quail Valley? And it will save them millions and millions of dollars. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, could you provide a brief response on the cooperation and the effort that EMWD is trying to bring sewer to Area 9 and where we're at with that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. EMWD has been in the process of sewering Area 9, and one of the components of getting Area 9 sewered is the Audie Murphy Ranch development. They will provide a booster and or a lift station to that. Unfortunately, the size of the line will handle, I believe, just Area 9, but this might be an opportunity to add some additional sizing. However, again, Eastern Municipal Water District is the purveyor of water and sewer, and they're the ones who would be making those connections and reaching out to the affected properties.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Randon Lane, followed by Don Beckendorf.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I am glad to be here with you this evening. My name is Randon Lane, Public Affairs Manager for SoCal Gas in their southern region. This evening, I'm here to give you a brief update on our Aliso Canyon facility. As you may know, in October of last year, SoCal Gas identified a leak in the Aliso Canyon storage facility. We worked very closely with both state and federal agencies to stop that leak, and we did. And now we are working closely with those same agencies to bring our Aliso Canyon site back online. What you may or may not know is that about 60% of all electricity, excuse me, about 60% of all electricity in California comes from generation plants that are powered by natural gas. So there's a need for natural gas in the electricity process here in California. Currently, at the Aliso Canyon site, we have 114 wells. Of those 114 wells, 100% of them have passed the first phase in the DOGGR. It's an acronym for the Division of Oil and Gas and Geothermal Resources, and that agency is basically mandated to work with SoCal Gas and any public utility, but in this case, they are mandated to work with us as we go through the testing of all of our wells at the Aliso Canyon site and bringing them back online. Of those 114 wells, 93 of those have moved on to phase 2 testing, 18 wells have completed all of the required tests, and 15 wells have received the final DOGGR approval, and we are working closely to make sure that we are able to bring this site back online. Why I'm here this evening is really three things. One, we want you to stay engaged. I know all 5 of you, and I know that you will do that, but we want you to stay engaged in the process as we work to bring this site back online. Secondly, we want you to understand that this is a very complicated process, a very long process to make sure that we bring this back online. And so we're asking all residents in Southern California to work as diligently as they can to conserve during this time while we bring this site back online. And then thirdly, questions. If you ever have questions, you have any groups that would like to be updated, you know how to get in contact with me. I've left Ms. Manwaring some information packets for you, some of the information I've talked about this evening, but I'm happy to answer any questions in the future if you have some. And want to thank you very much for your time, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Next speaker.
Don Beckendorf.
My name's Don Beckendorf. I've been here since 1990. Live over in Menifee Lakes area. I want to make sure that, first of all, that the council understands what we're going through. That HOA has 53 homes. So it's not the largest HOA you have, but it's not a small one either. And when that was formed, of course, you are very aware, I'm sure, of what's happening between Valleywide and the city as far as the east side of the freeway. And we had a meeting last night. I thank you for Mr. Lennox coming along and working hard on it. Ms. Sobek was there. Side note there is we have a committee now formed of 3 people, Ms. Sobek. So if you could please communicate with us at some point, we can become engaged. Our concern right now is we're going into budgeting process as you do every year. And our budget's $1 million plus budget. And right now there's no clear delineation around our property going down Newport and on Menifee. If you take it over, which you've applied to LAFCO, we're well aware of that. You applied to LAFCO and got the west side, so we assume, or there's an assumption, let's say, for this discussion, that you're going to get that side also. If you don't get it, then Valley-wide continues with that district. But our concern right now is that the 12-foot right-of-way on Newport and on Menifee means that there are parts of that median, not the median, but actually the size of the street, where we're going to have to pick it up, perhaps, as part of HOA budget. We don't have the budget to do it, because for 26 years, 27 years, that development has been paid for by the district. Now, the assumption might be that you'll get the taxes now and you'll make sure that's covered. We don't want that assurance without something in writing. So we asked last night to Mr. Sobek, to Mr. Lennox and to Ms. Sobek to give us some kind of a statement prior to our budget, which is right on our backs in the next month and a half to 2 months, that the city's intent, I know you're not going to promise it, but if LAFCO should give it to you, the intent would be that you will not all of a sudden come to the HOA with your hands out saying, we need money to help landscape that part of the sides of the road on both of those streets. It includes walls, it includes trees, it includes the grass, it includes all of that. And we just can't sit here, and by the way, the city and Valley-wide were very remiss in not coming to the HOA at all until this was raised far beyond the level we would like to have been a part of it. So we were left out of that whole procedure. So as a council dedicated to doing the best for the citizens, that was your platform you ran on, I think that was a very poor job on your part, as also a very poor job on Valley-wide's part. So now we're set with dead lawns, dying trees, no plants, because everything's been stopped. So that's our problem. I'm speaking here as an individual, but I am on the board also at Menifee Lakes. But I'm speaking as an individual. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, I'm sure that we'll hear from staff about this in the future and working with the HOA as we go forward.
Yes, tomorrow night, I believe, there is a item on the Parks, Recs, and Trails Commission where Valley-wide will be presenting the plan that we are still awaiting.
And specifically addressing the 12-foot right-of-way that the speaker just mentioned.
Correct. They're not to go too far into it, but yes, that is a bone of contention.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker.
There are no more speakers, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. On to council member updates and comments. Do we have any reports from the last council meeting? Ms. Sobek?
Thank you, Mayor. As you heard tonight from Mr. Beckendorf, I attended last night's Menifee Lakes Master Association because of, the last council meeting, I brought to the attention that we needed to have a conversation from Valley-wide. We needed to know what was going on. We've also been left out of the process. And as I heard last night from Mr. Winter from Valley-wide, he apologized to the residents for not understanding the process that needed it to go through. So since that last council meeting, I've been with staff who we had a sit down with Valley-wide. Last night, staff presented to the wonderful HOA, Menifee Lakes HOA, and the residents that were there. And then tomorrow night, that request that I made, a presentation is being made. So been busy with the Valley-wide issue. I want to say congratulations to our community service department. We receive a magazine called Western City, and our Menifee's Youth Advisory Committee was highlighted in this magazine. Menifee Youth Advisory Committee is directed by Robert Lennox and his team, and I just want to say kudos. You guys are doing a great job. I believe that process, is that application out right now for next year? So thank you. I had the privilege of attending with Mayor Pro Tem August, the Inland Valley Habitat for Humanity Appreciation Awards dinner. I don't know if all of you are aware of it, but Habitat for Humanity Inland Valley does about 90% of their work here in our community. And they help many senior citizens with home revitalization. As you know, once a year we do Menifee Better Together. A community comes out, we work together, but they're here all year long. And since that Menifee Better Together was in Councilmember August's district, and I had something to do with it, and then we had staff there as well. It was a nice evening, and we represented the city of Menifee at that event. This last week, I met with Country Gardens HOA Board and shared with them the State of the City video and answered a bunch of their questions about the turf removal that Valleywhide's doing and other issues. This morning, the latest thing, attended the grand opening with many of my staff members here of our new Aldi's that opened up their official grand opening this morning, and some of the things I've done.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sobek. Any others? My one report is I attended the National Night Out event with Councilmember Sobek 2 Saturdays ago. A chance for law enforcement to connect with the community and the neighborhood, and Menifee PD and the rest put on a really marvelous demonstration of all of their gear for the community and had a bunch of booths out there. And they tried to get me on the motorcycle, but I didn't want to break it. They presented the city with some nice certificates, and Ms. Sobek and I were able to convey some nice sentiments to our law enforcement community. And that concludes my report for this particular council meeting. Hearing no other additional comments, on to approval of minutes. Are there any modifications or changes to the minutes from the last meeting? Hearing none, those minutes are approved. And we're on to the consent calendar. And I would like to pull item 10.6 for comment. Are there any other modifications to the consent calendar?
No, but I do have a speaker for 10.5.
Okay, very well. We will take the speaker for 10.5.
George Rackstraw.
You don't have to now.
We're fine now.
Good evening, council and staff. Just looking this over, and this is pretty pricey. This is a 3-year deal, and I'm wondering if it went to competitive bid, and if so, how many bids were received? I don't have any information here about it being a low bid, or was this a negotiated thing? I'd like to get a little bit more information, if I may. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rackstraw. Mr. Johnson, I'm going to pull 10.5 for the purpose of answering the speaker's question. And may I have a balance? So we remove 10.5 and 10.6. May I have a motion for Mr. Leesmeyer? Is there a second? Second by Mr. August. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Denver. Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Sobek.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem August. And Mayor Mann.
Aye.
That passes 5-0.
Agenda item 10.5, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. 10.5 was bid. It was bid out professionally. We received 5 bids on it. Due to the size of the contract and how what the expense of the actual contract is, there's 2 ways to go about contracting. You can select, but don't have to, a low bidder. Most importantly, you want the most responsive and responsible bidder. And I'm going to throw it over to our Community Services Director, Robert Lennox, who can tell you about the publication of the bid procedures that happen, how these were qualified, how staff matched it together. You'll see on the last page of your report on item 10.5 that there's a bid opening log. Those are sealed bids. They were opened here at City Hall. So I just took a little bit of your thunder away, but it was a well-done process.
Thank you, City Manager. Good evening, Mayor and council members. City Manager is correct. This was done as a formal RFP, a request for proposals. It was issued on July 14th. A total of 9 contractors had attended a pre-bid meeting where all the specifications were reviewed. This is a typical process for an RFP. There were a total of 4 addendums issued through July 27th. And there was a bid opening held on the 29th of July. As City Manager mentioned, a bid opening for an RFP isn't required, but we do it anyways, just to provide full transparency to the public. And during that opening, there were at least 5 individuals present from various firms. And as the city manager also alluded to, at the end of your staff report is a log of those bids. There is the lowest bid, which was not selected, and to keep it general, reasoning behind that was that particular firm did not have any current contracts with existing municipal or other government agencies, and was not even, they're actually based out of San Diego. The firm that was selected has multiple municipal and other government contracts. They do work for the County of Riverside. They've actually done work for our own Public Works Department, providing services for LLMD, landscape maintenance, before this department took it over. And they've also done work in the city of San Bernardino. So they are actually the next lowest net responsible bidder. And then all other bidders were more expensive than that, including the current contractor the city has used in the past year.
Thank you. Mr. August?
I'd also like to add to what Mr. Lenning said, and I don't believe this was in the staff report, and maybe next time it should be. The last Parks, Recreation, and Trails Commission, this was an agendized item. The Parks, Recreation, and Trails Commission gave it a lengthy time and good discussion on the matter, and they recommended approval to the City Council. So that's my point.
Thank you. Ms. Sobek?
I didn't see this in the staff report either, Mr. Lennox. I looked on the ordinance for purchasing. It says that the notice inviting bids shall be published at least 10 calendar days before the date of the opening of the bids. Was this done?
For an RFP, I don't know that that rule actually applies, but all notices had been posted for this formal process with the adequate time required.
Thank you.
Any other questions of staff on 10.5? I need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Leesmeyer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem. Call the roll.
Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Sobek.
Aye.
Councilmember Denver.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem August.
Aye.
And Mayor Mann.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously.
On to 10.6. I pulled this off just for the sake of letting the public know how really long this item has been in the works. It's been on agenda item 10.6, the historical markers for selected areas in the city has been a work in progress for almost 2 years. It's a collaborative effort between the Menifee Historical Society, Supervisor Marion Ashley's office, and the city. And it's entities coming together to do something really good with capturing and documenting and providing a marker for where some of Menifee's more historical sites actually are, whether it's the Newport Ranch, a couple of other ranches, the Old King's Inn, things of that nature. It's a way to capture that heritage for people in the years to come. And I just want to thank staff for making this happen. The City Council actually approved this almost a year and a half ago. All the pieces of the puzzle didn't come together, and we rolled the capital improvement dollars for this program over to this year, and it's going to happen. So I just want to say thank you. And with that, I will move approval of 10.6. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Sobek. We'll call roll.
Councilmember Sobek.
Aye.
Councilmember Denver. Mayor Pro Tem August. Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Aye.
And Mayor Mann.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously.
And really quick on that item, we would be remiss if we didn't also thank the Menifee Valley Historical Society and their efforts in all this. So.
Absolutely. They were the catalyst. Bill Zimmerman was the one that brought it to us in several meetings, and it was a great idea that just grew legs, and it's come together.
Would that be something that would be on our website? That, you know, I read in the report what each of those monuments are going to say. It would be really nice to have that information on our website.
Maybe staff could put it in the next Menifee Matters, dedicate a small section to it.
That's a great idea.
On to public hearing items. The one item tonight has been canceled. On to discussion items. 12.1, wording for a transaction and use sales tax measure argument, supporting for voter approval of the measure. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The item before you is to discuss and hopefully solidify the argument in favor of Measure DD. Measure DD would be the sales tax increase of 1% throughout the city. That would be on the November ballot in 2016 on November 8th. I have in your red folders the final draft language as recommended by the Public Safety Committee. I'm going to read that as you follow along. I believe we'll have it up for everyone else. And we're looking for a approval of this evening. Vote yes on DD, protect Menifee's public safety and vital community services from Sacramento money grabs. Sacramento politicians have taken $21 million from Menifee over the past 5 years. Stop the money grab. Yes on double D, keeps our taxpayers' dollars local to address our needs. We live in Menifee because it offers a great quality of life. Yes on double D, maintains services we expect and deserve, requiring every dime to be used for our benefit. None of Measure Double D funding can be taken by Sacramento politicians. Yes on double D, keeps funds local. Yes on double D, maintains 911 emergency response. Yes on double D, maintains local streets and roads and repairs local interchanges, overpasses. Yes on double D, improves traffic flow. Yes on double D, maintains local police, fire, and paramedic services. Here's what Measure Double D won't do. Measure Double D is not a tax on your home or property. Measure Double D is not applied to food purchased as groceries or prescription medications. With crime from surrounding communities increasing, we must maintain public police protection and the number of officers on our streets. Yes on double D will keep Menifee safe by restoring the number of police officers we need to be full force. Yes on double D also addresses our street infrastructure and traffic flow. If you're tired of spending hours stuck in traffic, vote yes on double D to expand interchanges and build overpasses to reduce traffic congestion and make our streets, roads safer for drivers and pedestrians alike. Yes on double D keeps Menifee a desirable place to live, work, and visit by ensuring our public safety, roads, parks, and other vital services are maintained. Yes on double D includes tough fiscal accountability with independent financial audits and public review, ensuring funds are spent responsibly. Join a unanimous City Council and Menifee residents in voting yes on double D. Factual information provided by the website, signatories of all 5 council members. That is your item for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Are there any questions from council to staff on this matter?
Oh, I'd like to make a motion, we approve this.
We have, I think we may
Oh.
have speakers. I'll double check. Do we have any speakers on this item?
No, we do not.
Very well, then a motion would be appropriate.
Second.
We have a motion by Council Member Sobek and a second by Mr. Denver. Call the roll.
Councilmember Denver. Mayor Pro Tem August. Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Aye, sorry. Yeah, give it to Rob.
Councilmember Sobek.
Oh, yeah, I wrote it. I'm good.
And Mayor Mann.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thanks to the Public Safety Committee and staff for putting that together. I think it's well-written, and it actually, it speaks the truth to the taxpayer, and it's what we need, and it's right there for everybody to decide, yes or no, come November 8th. On to 12.2, Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Menifee and the Menifee Valley Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Robert Lennox, Community Services Director, has the balance of the item.
Thank you, City Manager, Mayor, and Council. The item before you is a consideration of an MOU between the City and the Menifee Valley Chamber of Commerce to formalize agreement related to revenue share or sharing of revenue from vendors who participate in citywide special events. As you all know from the past year, the city has benefited from a number of successful events where participation has consistently climbed. We've added new attraction and amenities to a variety of our signature experiences in town, including the tree lighting, Independence Day, Fall Festival, movies in the park, just to name a few. And during the past year, we have benefited from a unofficial partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, who have been providing vending coordination services for the city during that time. This MOU is essentially an opportunity to formalize that agreement, wherein and the key deal points of that agreement include for all vendors related to wares and food, the gross booth fees from those vendors being secured. 70% of those would be retained by the Chamber of Commerce, with 30% of those booth fee revenues then being remitted to the city. And that would apply to all except for the Independence Day celebration on the attachment within the MOU and attached to your staff report. Additionally, the MOU does call out an opportunity for another revenue share for any alcohol sales that are done at events. I do need to clarify the first action item on the agenda today does not suggest that alcohol sales is going to be permitted at all events. It simply says that if and when they are done, they would be coordinated through the chamber, and the revenue share in that case would be 60% of the net proceeds from those sales going to the chamber, with 40% of those net proceeds coming to the city. Again, it does not make a statement about what events alcohol would be served at. It simply spells out what that revenue share would look like. That concludes the portion of the MOU. The other action item before you is at the request, I believe, of some of the council members from previous meetings, Councilmember Sobek. There is option for the council to discuss what policy the council would like to take relative to having alcohol at a number of events. That discussion can extend to a select number of events, all events, or none events. That really is up to the pleasure of the council. That really concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Are there speakers on this item?
Yes,
Let's
there
take
are.
the speakers now.
First is Grace Santiago, followed by Stu Blaze.
Hello. Hi, you guys.
Hi.
Basically, what I was recommending to the chamber is, our big priority here is not to overserve customers. All of our customers at the brewery are tip certified, and that certification encompasses training on how to see triggers when someone has consumed too much alcohol. If we can control it to possibly tasting, as Pachanga has with their 2-ounce or 4-ounce taster glasses, have a nice little commemorative glass that goes with it, so people can keep that and make a collection. A lot of people keep those, and over the years they just add to their nice little stash. But that way we wouldn't have any issues with over-serving. I know that there's concerns with safety and family. We were talking about keeping it a separate section. I know that they said that section is just reserved for like Oktoberfest. And I think that would bring a lot of money for the city of Menifee. And bring new people in, that normally wouldn't go to Menifee. But Oktoberfest seems to bring in a lot of money, and we've seen it through Pachanga. We've been able to donate, and that's what we're gonna do at this event, is donate our beer. So all the proceeds would go to the city and the chamber. And I know that it'll bring a lot of people. So, but I know the concerns with over-serving, and we just wanted to bring light to, the certification and the tips that we all have to go to train required by the ABC, so we don't over-serve customers.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Stu Blaze, followed by Karen Nolan.
Thank you, everybody. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to address the council and the mayor and the staff. I'm here to speak of something similar as what Grace just spoke to in regarding to the Fall Festival / Oktoberfest / beer gardens. One of the things, I'm on the planning committee for this event, and I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that we took serving alcohol very seriously, in which it's just going to be beer and or a little wine. There's not going to be hard alcohol there. The beer gardens will be on the opposite end of the field as to where the family events are going to take place. The beer gardens will be completely fenced and away from any of, again, of the family events. There'll only be one way in of the beer gardens and one way out of the beer gardens. There will also be a limited number of beverages sold to any individual. So it won't be a matter of trying to spot people on whether or not they drank too much. They'll have a limited number of beverages that they'll be able to purchase at the beer gardens. There'll also be security at the entrance and or police officers at the entrance as well. One of the things that I think is very important that we have to understand, if we do go ahead and are able to have the beer gardens at the event, no one in the beer garden is going to run out and force people to come in and purchase beer. If we do not have the beer gardens at the event, that takes away the choice of individuals who might want to have a beer at the event. So one of the things I think we have to think of is that there has to be a choice. If people don't want to purchase beer, they don't have to. The beer gardens is going to be there for people who might want to have a beer during the event. And again, we've taken very seriously the conditions on how we are going to have the beer gardens and what's going to take place to make sure it doesn't get abused and that it's a safe event. I know we've served alcohol at city events before, and I've done a little bit of research and homework on it. I don't remember any altercation or anything happening negatively at any of these events. So I hope you reconsider and allow us to have that beer garden at the Fall Festival. I appreciate your time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Blaze. Mr. Leesmeyer?
Yes, Stu, really quick. I just had a quick question. Can you elaborate on how you guys are planning to regulate? You said people are not going to be able to get a whole lot. How are you planning to regulate?
When somebody comes in to purchase beer, they're going to have to buy tickets, and the most amount of tickets each individual will be able to purchase is 2.
Okay.
And then we'll also have just one entrance, so we'll know if somebody's coming in and out more times than they should have. So it'll be very obvious.
You buy your ticket on the way through.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Denver?
Stu, is the Chamber of Commerce, is the beer garden important financially to the Chamber of Commerce event?
I think financially it's a good thing for the chamber and the city, but I don't think it's a matter of the finances that we're doing it for or made the decision to have one for. We're planning on 5,000 or 7,000 people being there that are residents of the city of Menifee. I think it's a matter of having something there that we know probably a majority of them will enjoy during the event.
Ms. Sobek?
Mr. Blaze, last year I was at the Fall Festival, and it was booths set up where parents brought their children to go trick-or-treating.
Mm-hmm.
It was a trick-or-treating event. Do you have a problem with mixing that?
Well, again, the event this year for the Fall Festival is going to be the same. Any vendors there that they are going to pass out candy to kids that go to their booths. Kids obviously won't be allowed in the beer garden. They won't be passing out candy in the beer garden to entice kids to be in that area. The beer garden is almost hidden where we're putting it in conjunction with the other vendors that are going to be passing out candy for the kids. Again, it's quite a ways away from those areas that are going to have people, you know, non-profit organizations and things like that. So it is going to be a pretty far distance, and it is going to be, again, gated, fenced, and it's going to have a top over it. So you almost.
What would you say to the
almost have to look.
message that you're sending to your youth?
I'm sorry, say that one more
What
time.
would you say to the message something like that would send to your youth at a children's event? At a children's event?
Well, I don't think it's a children's event. I think it's a family event. It's not just for kids, it's for families. And
To
there'll
go
be parents and
trick-or-treating.
adults there as well. So it's not just a kid event, it's a family event. And again, we're doing our due diligence to make sure that it's on opposite ends of where all the kids, specific kids area is going to be.
Okay, so answer my question. What do you think of the message it sends to the youth and children?
I think the message is going to be we should have a freedom of choice. I think that's going to be a really positive message.
Thank you. Next speaker?
Thank you.
Karen Nolan, followed by Kristen Spoon.
Good evening. I'm Karen Nolan. I'm also the current chair for the Menifee Valley Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much, one, for the past communication and partnership we've had with the chamber and the city. It has been both a benefit not only to the city but to the chamber and its members. I'm also a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and my business has benefited from partnering up with a lot of their events and activities. The question tonight, and Mrs. Sobek, you had asked a question, what message would we send to the children? And I want to also ask you a question. I know during trick-or-treating time that Red Robin and Applebee's, now we don't have a Chili's here, but those events also hand out candies if you bring their kids dressed up on Halloween, if you bring them to have dinner. What kind of message does that send? We also frequently, as family activities and events, will frequent these restaurants that also serve alcohol. I am not a huge consumer of alcohol. I've taken my family to restaurants where there's alcohol present. I teach my children the understanding which belongs to the parent to teach them understanding. It is not the city's responsibility to make that, teaching the children that may be a good example of it. And organizing it, setting it in a secure area shows responsibility to drinking. It does not show that that does not exist. So I think it maybe should be looked at a little bit closer to understanding that alcohol consumed by people is irrelevant all over. And it is the responsibility of the parents to teach that to their children, whether it is a fundamental belief either religiously or it's even just morally they want to believe whether or not they should or should not consume alcohol, and it should be left to the parents to do that as well. I do believe that the city does have a responsibility to uphold any current laws or guidelines that the county, the state that have put forth and put it down, that we should uphold those. And I think that's exactly what the committee's done with the Chamber of Commerce. When they put that committee together, they talk specifically about how can they protect that, how can we make sure that it doesn't cross over with the children, but it's still something that consumers, a large number of your Menifee residents are somewhat consumers of some kind of alcohol beverage. Does that mean they shouldn't participate in it? Parents can then also educate their children as well. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen.
Ms. Sobek?
Ms. Nolan, I don't have a problem with alcohol being sold at city events. I'm concerned with it being sold at some of our Easter event for the children, the Easter egg hunt, and the trick-or-treating. I also am concerned with the businesses that it will, you mentioned the businesses. We don't want to take away also from the businesses who have that opportunity to serve it, where these people could go out and go after they do the trick-or-treating, go to the Red Robin and go to the businesses. So just want to make that clear.
Can I respond to her comment? I just wanted to say one night, it's a one event, and currently right now it is the only event on our calendar that we have on the MOU that has any idea of having alcohol at this current time at the activity. So one night of this activity for 4 hours, I don't think is going to hurt the revenue specifically of each of those businesses that we spoke about. But I understand where you're coming from and appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Kristen Spoon.
Hi guys, Kristen Spoon. It's not very often that you'll ever see me get up here. I feel very strongly about this issue. I have to tell you, with us having our position of what we do for a living, it is against my husband's better judgment that I get up here, but I feel so strongly about it that I am going to do it. One of my issues in this whole thing, number one, I'm a paralegal by trade, and so I go through different legalities of the thing. One, you knowingly will know that you're going into this event, knowingly that it's going to have alcohol served at an event where there's going to be children, where a parent is going to get into a car with that child possibly later and leave the site. That leaves the city's rear end hanging open wide. We were involved in this event originally, and we asked to back out because I didn't want to be legally involved in this. Okay? There's an accountability for our city council. You guys are in charge to make that call. The accountability is on you. And number one, they said they're hiding their beer garden on the opposite side. Why do they have to hide it? That should tell you something. The other thing is, we have a row of Boy Scouts sitting here that's in support. We have youth that know that they want to make their choice. There is support of you not serving alcohol at a family-friendly event. That's what they're here for right now. The main purpose for the chamber to come serve at that event, I was in that meeting. It's a fundraiser for them. They already have, you have a MOU or whatever it's called. You had a $3,800 event with them. You were going to give them money anyway, and you backed off the money. You're already giving them money. Why are we giving them more money? Let them do their own event at their own thing. They already have a partners agreement with the city. It's just not appropriate. I've been personally involved with the chamber and had to walk away from it for some of those decisions I don't agree with personally. And what's to stop the police from sitting on the corners and following some of these people out? We don't know that. Be giving tickets. That's ridiculous, but it could happen. Are we really that hurting that we have to modify or put down our morals, that we can't have a nice family event where alcohol isn't involved? I don't drink alcohol myself. I am probably one of the first person to vote for it at certain things, not this time. And that's about all I have to say. And talk about public safety. We've had that DD measure that you wanted to talk about. That's all about public safety. That's what this is about. And that's all I have to say about it.
Thank you. Mr. August?
Yep.
A couple of quick questions for you. I know there's a history to this event. I know there's some hard feelings on it. But in your opinion, is this a trick-or-treat, predominantly a trick-or-treat, kids dress up in costumes event?
Well, that's how it started out, and that's what I was led to believe that it was going to be. Yes, it's a Halloween costume party.
So if I were to go to this party, what would I see? Would I see a bunch of kids, and
Yes.
that's all I would see?
Well,
What else would I see? It's a fall festival. What else would I see?
you would see people entertaining the community.
Can you give me an example?
We had the Starlight Singers. We had different people from the Arts Council.
Okay.
We
There'd
had them
be booths,
entertaining.
a lot of booths,
There
different
was
booths,
different booths that were set up.
Okay.
And
And what-
in those booths, the kids would trick or treat at those booths.
Okay, and what specifically do the kids do in terms of trick or treat? I mean,
They go to the booths and
They-
they go from booth to booth to visit the booths.
okay,
Play games.
okay. Fall, the term fall festival, so this is,
Okay, let me tell you, originally,
Hmm.
Menifee 24/7 started the festival,
Mhm.
and we call it a Halloween bash.
was it the same format? And
Same
they had
format.
booths and everything? And
Yes.
what was the name of it then?
Halloween bash.
Halloween Bash.
And it was meant so the vendors,
Mhm.
actually it was some of our people, our advertisers could meet and greet the community, and they could give out trick or treats. It could be a free event.
Was there beer served at the Halloween Bash?
Absolutely not.
None. So do you feel that the name Fall Festival was changed, and because it was changed to a Fall Festival, that therefore alcohol, that under that guise, that the chamber feels that alcohol should be served? If they called it a Halloween Bash, would it be more difficult to sell alcohol?
No, they changed it. We changed it in compliance with the city last year when we partnered with them. They just wanted they wanted everything to be a spring fest, fall fest, so that's why they changed that.
And just last question, and you feel this is strictly a kids' event?
I think it's a community family event. That's what the people are. And our draw has been every year, we are the ones that brought the people to the event, and that's what they are expecting, yes.
Does it equate anyway to an Easter egg hunt?
To an Easter egg hunt. As far as...
For the kids?
No, yeah, I think so.
Okay, do you know if they sold alcohol at the Easter egg hunt?
I do not know that.
Okay. What about the Christmas tree, Christmas lighting ceremony?
Yes,
Do you consider that a family event?
yes, I do.
Do they sell alcohol at there?
No, they don't.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, I will find out for you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Next speaker.
There are no more speakers.
We have no more speakers on this item, and we have two items for consideration. One is the MOU itself, and one direction to staff regarding this issue, right? Mr. Johnson?
That is correct.
What is the council's pleasure
On what item, sir?
on item number, well, I don't know if we can do item 1 without addressing item 2 first, frankly.
Could we send item 2 back to the Parks and Trail Commission to get recommendation from another body?
I'd like to not propose that. I think that it needs to be discussed and decided tonight.
We have a motion on the floor to send item 2 to the Parks Commission. Is there a second?
Can I make a comment on that?
Yes? I'd like to get a second if there's one there.
Then can I make that comment?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll give a second and with a comment.
absolutely. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to send item 2 to the Parks Commission. Mr. August?
With a couple of questions, if I could, from the staff. My question on the Easter egg hunt, do you sell beer and alcohol do you allow the sale of beer and alcohol at the Easter egg hunt?
It has not been done in the past.
Okay, what about the Christmas event?
That has not been done in the past.
It's not done there either?
No, it has not been done.
Okay. Do they, a different question, but do they allow the sale of beer or alcohol at the Case and Service Center?
Not the sale, the service.
Service or any alcohol?
When there's a rental that complies with the reservation requirements, then they are allowed to serve alcohol.
Just give me an example of 2 events where the city, 4th of July, they allow alcohol, right?
In the past, that has occurred at the 4th of July event, yes. Another one would have been the birthday gala from the last year. There was alcohol sales at that event.
Okay, all right. Now, just for my comment, the reason why I second this motion, I haven't really made up my mind here, but we have a Parks, Recreation, and Trails Commission who actually direct us in what's proper park policy and issues dealing with parks and so on and so forth. And as far as I know, this issue should probably have gone to the Parks, Recreation, and Trails Commission for an assessment on their opinion, since they know more about parks and how to manage parks and what city policy should be on parks. So for that reason, if we did send it back to the Parks, Recs, and Trails Commission, would that give, and I'll ask the staff this question, would that give, I would guess that would be on September 17th when the council would hear that next, would that provide enough time for the council to make a decision at that time? And should the council decide to go ahead with beer and alcohol, beer and wine at that, would that still allow enough time for for the chamber to sell their beer or whatever?
Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Mayor Pro Tem. We're awaiting a policy decision. So
okay.
That
you don't have
how,
so
right.
if we
don't have a choice.
If we decided to send
however
it back,
goes,
if we send it back to Parks and Trails, would that give everybody enough time? Should we decide
we
to
would
allow
hope
it?
that we could get that back by September 7th, because if there's a policy decision, either way, there's going to be some consequences to that decision that and things may need to change or may need to stay the same. So just enough time to plan for the actual event when it occurs in October.
Mayor, do you understand what my second is?
I do.
Okay.
Mr. Lennox?
Just to add to city manager's comments and I think directly answer what you had asked, Councilman, a decision to come back by recommendation through the Parks Commission would certainly provide an additional time constraint for the planning of the Fall Festival. As I understand, though, action item number 2 is for a policy relative to all events throughout the year. So if there is a delay in that policy decision, it could impact the Fall Festival planning, but it would provide ample time for the rest of the year's events, depending on the outcome.
My question to you, you said it could impact, or what was your term, word you used as far as affecting the Fall Festival?
The planning for it, so...
Wouldn't preclude it from happening, though?
No, the festival can happen with or without alcohol sales. That's
It
true.
wouldn't preclude the festival going ahead with beer and alcohol, even though it would affect the planning. It would inhibit the planning a little, but wouldn't preclude the sale of alcohol.
That's a question I think only the chamber can answer, since they would be the one coordinating those vendors.
Can you ask the chamber that, Mr.
I don't,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
The, just to follow, so I know, I'm keenly familiar that we've allowed alcohol sales at other events, whether it's Independence Day, October, the birthday bash, even at other venues, which are also family events. And so I think we have a danger of classifying one as a family event over the other, when the past practice is we've allowed it, and we have not had any incidents. So I just want to make that point. And Mr. Melching, you had pushed your button in a moment ago. Did you have something to add?
Only a point of clarification, Mayor, and that is that if the MOU piece of this equation were to be solved tonight, the MOU as written currently says that it's subject to whatever the policy is. So if the policy changes later, the MOU follows.
Yeah, so we can go ahead and act on that if we choose tonight,
Yes.
yeah. And it provides a mechanism if it happens.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Could you briefly, I mean, the comment was made, and I need to ask this because I'm going to put my risk management hat on for a minute. And, you know, when we contract for services, we transfer that risk through agreements and through certificates of insurance. I don't recall any public agency, whether it's municipality or school district or anything else, being held liable for things that may or may not arise out of alcohol sales at events. There may be, but I'm just not aware of any.
Mayor, I don't have an example for you to explain when that has happened in the past. I will say that you are correct, that the agreements are structured so that the city isn't actually engaged in the direct sale of alcohol. It admittedly shares in the revenue, and I would assume, although I don't know for a fact, that all of these issues get shared with PARSAC, so that from a risk management standpoint, these issues are examined.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second on the floor regarding item number 2 to send it back to the Parks Commission. I'd like to, is there any other discussion on that item? I think it's important that we have a roll call vote on it. This is to send this matter to the Parks Commission for further review on the policy of it.
Mayor Pro Tem August? Councilmember Leesmeyer?
No.
Councilmember Sobek?
Aye.
Councilmember Denver?
No.
Mayor Mann?
No.
That motion fails.
On to agenda item number 1. We have an MOU before us. Is there any questions or clarifications regarding the MOU? I'll entertain a motion on the approval of the MOU.
So
We have a motion by Mr. Denver and a second by Mr. Leesmeyer.
Councilmember Leesmeyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Sobek?
Aye.
Councilmember Denver? Mayor Pro Tem August? Mayor Mann?
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you all for the discussion. On to agenda item 12.3, Community Services Department Annual Report.
Maybe number 2.
Huh?
Do we need to decide on number 2?
We
What happens
did-
with the policy then?
We did number 2.
We did.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have to adopt it. I'm sorry. Okay, so we have the decision, I apologize to all. The decision to send item number 2 to the Parks Commission failed on a 3-2 vote. Is there a motion to approve it tonight?
So I'd like to discuss that a little bit.
Okay, open for discussion. Sorry, Mr. Lennox.
So, you know, Stu brought up a good point. People have choices. And, you know, I have thought about this long and hard, and the burden that this carries on my shoulders if a parent does, you know, get intoxicated and jumps in a car and causes an accident. But I think with the right regulation and the proper quantities, we can do something very good for a growing business in our city, promote our chamber, and present something that, quite honestly, a large majority of the city of Menifee enjoy. I mean, we have an average age of 37 now. A younger generation, and beer and wine and breweries are getting very popular. And I think it's a great opportunity to showcase one of our great businesses in the city. and possibly promote some more. So that's basically what I have to say about it. I mean, I think with the right regulation, this can be done very well.
Thank you. Ms. Sobek?
In our staff report, in the back page, it mentioned that the Menifee Valley Chamber special and city special events will be, the Fall Festival will be in October, the Christmas tree lighting in December, the Spring Fest in April, the Music and Art Festival in May, movies in the park in July or August, and summer concerts in June, July, and August. My interpretation is, with these written here, that they were all going to serve alcohol.
Mr. Melching?
Thank you, Mayor. Just one clarification on that. According to attachment A to the MOU, the Music and Arts Festival, the item in May specifically is listed as non-alcohol vendors
The only one,
only.
excuse me, yes. The only one listed as non-alcoholic vendors only.
So is the city looking for policy direction on each one of these events if they want to serve alcohol at each one of these events? I'm not clear.
That's what I'm wondering too.
We're looking for a policy direction on serving alcohol. Whether you want to go per event is up to you, or whether you want to go on a general basis. But staff now requires a policy decision to be made on that.
Regardless of what the language of the staff report says, I would find it hard to believe that staff or the Parks Commission or any other vendor would dare sell alcohol at the Spring Fest in the morning. That's a morning event.
Right.
It lasts until about, into the early afternoon, I realize, but that's never been done before. I highly doubt that ever would. But to answer some of these concerns, I was concerned about the timing tonight for the Fall Festival for those who are planning it, number one. And I think the sense of the council is that should continue. But I think it might be prudent to address the policy generally to the Parks Commission. And I know I'm piecemealing this, but it's a timing issue. Does my statement make any sense? I mean, I don't want to completely disrupt the.
I would support that direction.
Yeah. Move forward with tonight's on the Fall Festival as discussed, but send it back to the Parks Commission for further development on language.
That's a completely appropriate motion, Mayor.
All right, that would be my motion.
And second.
We have a second by Mr. Leesmeyer. Ms. Sobek, you had wanted to speak for a moment. Did you
Just-
have another comment?
Could you clarify?
The clarification is that we're sending the policy discussion back to the Parks Commission for further refinement going forward after the Fall Festival for future events.
So are we going to have a discussion on the Fall Festival tonight?
I think we
policy?
did for tonight, but is there clarity on that decision? Or do we need to have a motion and a second to allow it?
For what it's worth, Mayor, I understood the motion to be this, that A, the MOU has already been approved.
Correct.
B, that the alcohol sales will be allowed at the Fall Festival event, and C, that for the balance of the event, those issues are being referred to the Parks, Trails, and Recreation Commission for their advice to you.
That was my intent of the motion, yes. So we have a motion and a second. Did that clarify for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Motion and a second. Call the roll on that.
Councilmember Sobek?
No.
Councilmember Denver? Mayor Pro Tem August?
We already voted on the Fall Festival, right?
We did, but we're voting now on sending the balance of our events to the Parks Commission
Oh,
for review.
I vote yes on that.
But with approval to sell.
But with
That's
the,
right.
with
At
the
the
okay
fall.
to sell at the Fall Festival
Aye.
because of planning.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Is that an aye?
That is an aye.
That's an aye.
Councilmember Leesmeyer?
Aye.
Mayor Mann?
Aye.
That motion passes 4-1.
Thank you for that clarification.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious why you voted no. Can I ask?
So it was a two-part motion. I agree with sending it back to Parks and Trail Commission, but it did not approve selling alcohol at the Fall Festival.
That's
So that's why I voted
But we
no.
already voted on that, then we'd be for it.
We voted 3-2 against sending the Fall Festival to the Parks Commission.
Okay, all right. I'll stand by my vote then, that's fine. Yeah.
I know it was a little convoluted.
Yeah.
I apologize, but I think it needed to be, for the sake of several processes and timing and language, I think it worked out. At least for the long term, I think it'll work out.
And I would say that here, that I think the chamber and the purveyor hear the voice that, you know, we want it to be safe and a fun event.
Agreed. Okay, now on to 12.3, Mr. Lennox.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is an annual tradition we'd like to start. We've had one full year of operations as the in-house provider of Parks and Recreation services within the city of Menifee, primarily, obviously, on the west side of the I-215 freeway. So this brief report just highlights some of the accomplishments from this full year. So that would cover July 1 through June 30 of the fiscal year 15-16. As you can see, some of the milestones that we've reached in the past year include passage or adoption of Parks and Landscape Design Standards, which has become very critical and part of the discussion, as was mentioned earlier, when examining some of the landscape conditions that we see just across the freeway on Newport and surrounding streetscapes. Additionally, we have adopted last year and then also for the current fiscal year a Parks Capital Improvement Plan. We were able to achieve about $800,000 of improvements in the 15-16 year, and we have about $1.2 million set aside as planned for 16-17. We also, last year, were able to complete the Parks, Trails, Open Space Recreation Master Plan, which is the guiding document we use when new projects, subdivisions, residential come in and are required to dedicate park space to the city. And in conjunction with that, we're able to do an amendment to our Quimby mitigation fee ordinances, which essentially set the in lieu fee amount as well as how much park space is to be dedicated to the city when those projects come forward. Most recently, in December, we did have, or I'm sorry, rather in May, we did successfully submit our application to LAFCO for detachment from Valleywide. And as you all know, there is a tentative hearing set for November 10th for that commission to hear that request. Some of the grants we achieved this year, $50,000 from Valley Health Systems, which includes some health and wellness programs, which we'll be unveiling in September, and of course the designation as a Playful City USA. All very good accomplishments for this year. This past year. Some of those capital projects included Phase 1 and 2 of the Case Anaceros Senior Center through some funding from CDBG. Those included ADA, as well as parking lot enhancements, HVAC improvements. Also, at the end of last fiscal year, we were successful in completing the Sun City Boulevard medians so that right-of-way landscaping is in good condition, using drought-tolerant plants as well as point-to-point drip irrigation, and then a myriad of improvements for security over at the AMR Skate Park. Some of those are still ongoing as we continue our camera project, which was an item you had approved this evening for contract award. Over the past year, we did experience about 1,100 volunteers through all of our events and activities. We had about 93,000 participants through special events, recreation programs, classes, beautification programs, you name it. Our maintenance crew had been busy in the previous year and were successful in about a 98% of work order completion. And as you can see the categories on the screen, they range everything from general LMD maintenance, vandalism, graffiti abatement, repair of amenities and furnishings across the board. Staff was also successful in completing their qualified water efficient landscaper certification. This is actually a program put on by EMWD, and once completed, those staff know exactly the amount of water that needs to be applied to any of our landscaped areas, and are also certified to complete inspections of our areas as well as other developer areas as needed. For revenues that have been collected during the past year, you can see the majority of that is in our class registrations. Those have really taken off with the inclusion of contract class instructors for things like tennis, dog obedience, karate, yoga, you name it. These are very traditional classes and experiences in all agencies, but these seem to be very popular here. And then, of course, sponsorships was another one that's helped us deliver another level of quality services at our signature events because we've had the ability to supplement the revenue and provide something that we couldn't just on some of the general funds alone. To that, you can see a breakdown by facility type or program type on participants, and this does exclude, obviously, some of our special events. It only includes some of the core ones that occur at the centers. In essence, though, it is the two centers we have are very busy locations. You can walk in there at any given day of the week and really be inundated with the public enjoying the amenities and the instruction. When it comes to special events, very poignant considering the discussion this evening, you can see the cost recovery on this from staff's hard work has really resulted in a very good response. There are some program areas that we'd want to refine in the current fiscal year, but for the 15-16 year, which is our first full year of operation, these are really good numbers. Most agencies who put on signature events are typically looking at 20 to 30% cost recovery. And so on average, we are at about a 53% cost recovery, which is great. Now, we intend that actually will go up as more and more sponsors become involved and as more revenue opportunities arise during these events. Some of those that have exceeded the cost recovery amount, those revenues go back into the general fund to offset shortages on other events. And so we view that as an overall special event kitty, so to speak. And then in general, the process in which the public does get engaged with us to sign up for activities and classes, as well as registrations for use of fields, permitting, initially we had a very high percentage of folks using the online component, which was new this year. And then obviously the major feature, the major way in which people can engage us is just across the counter. That's very similar to what we experience here at City Hall, but that's the breakdown of it. That online tool has been very critical for us. It's actually lightened the load across the counter because if all of those happened face to face, we'd probably have a line out the door. So. And that concludes my report. There's certainly more detail within the staff report, but staff has done an amazing job this year. As a first-year effort, they've done a lot to create efficiencies, try to reduce costs, maximize how many resources we provide to the public, and I just want to provide kudos to my staff and also other departments that have supported this department in its first full year in its infancy, including finance and public works, economic development, all have played a part in the department's success. So I appreciate their support.
Excellent, Mr. Lennox. Thank you very much for your report. Your department is running strong and have made great strides and have actually improved on some things over the previous year, which is great. I do have another comment, but I'm going to call on Ms. Sobek first.
Thank you, Mayor. Robert, and to your staff, Jason, you guys do a fabulous job. You've done a fabulous job this last year. Just wanted to make mention to you, do you have, only because this was asked to me today by a resident when I was at Aldi's, she wanted to know if there was any kind of teen program that would prepare teens for leadership and job training, anything like that. Do you have anything like that? Are you looking at anything like that?
So we do have the Youth Advisory Committee. The applications for the upcoming year are due on August 26th. We intend to bring that a list of appointments for council consideration to second meeting in September. Of course, during the term, we do provide a curriculum to those youth to prepare them for leadership opportunities. This year we'll be focusing on special projects that they may want to see achieved on their behalf and representation of the youth. But also we have our after-school program over at Lazy Creek. We had, in the current year, appointed or promoted an employee who's going to make it a priority for teen activities. So not just the tweens and the late elementary school kids, but also those that are just in the starting high school age. Some of those that are in junior high, to engage them more, so that it's more appropriate programming for them.
Okay. Well, she was kind of looking for a class that her son could go to and take that would help with life skills, be a better leader, prepare for jobs, et cetera, et cetera. So just letting you know then, if we don't have something like that, if it's a need.
Yeah, I would echo those sentiments because I've discussed over the years with several, not the current chamber leadership, but others in the past. I would love to see that this might be a partnering opportunity if it's through the youth advisory committee or whatever, and with the chamber. Maybe it would be nice to have kind of a junior chamber of commerce where they do those types of things, job interview skills, how to do an income statement, how to fill out those types of skills that, now I know the high schools do some of those at certain, but you actually have to volunteer to take those classes. So maybe we could explore that in the future.
Yes, in fact, staff is working on something called Leadership Edge, which is a partnership with some of the schools, as well as SAT prep courses, things like that. So those are new for fiscal year 16-17.
Great,
Sounds like
thank
another
you.
Helen Putnam Award to me down the
Thank
road.
you.
Actually, I wanted to ask a question about the presentation. If I recall correctly, one of LAFCO's directives to us was to demonstrate an ability to run our own parks department. With what you've presented here tonight, do you feel that we've accomplished that goal, or that directive from LAFCO?
Emphatically, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And this is a receive and file, no action? Excellent. All right, then we are on to city attorney reports.
No reports this evening, Mayor.
City manager report.
No reports this evening.
Any future agenda requests from council members tonight? Hearing none, we are going to adjourn tonight's meeting anonymously in memory of the fallen Marietta police detective recently. We are adjourned.